Oh my god, 312 is here, 312 is here. Minion, did you try the tractor beams? Did you experiment with them? Are they all that you hoped that they would be? Never mind about any of that. Never mind. This is not important. What is important is Minion got an early Christmas present from CIG. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm about to show you. So I ran to the nearest refinery. I get the tractor beam. I'm like, all right, you know what? So first thing I'm going to do, those of you who've watched this channel for a long, long time, I'm talking way the back in the 2.0 series of patches, will know that there's a project that there was something that I wanted to do with the Caterpillar and Gundo Kovalex. There's an item I wanted to acquire from Gundo Kovalex to decorate the interior of my Caterpillar. So innocently, not knowing that anything had changed, I decide, pull out the pirate Caterpillar, let's go, let's get this thing, and let's get it set up inside the ship. What I didn't realize is that CIG had made some exterior tweaks to the pirate Caterpillar. The exterior is now matte black. A matte black finish with the red line, the usual little decorations on it. It's awesome. It's absolutely sexy. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. In the previous patch in 3.11, it had this weird shimmery kind of shiny kind of paint job on it, and it looked totally out of place, but this looks awesome. Oh my god, I had no idea that they were doing this. They always make adjustments, little adjustments to the paint jobs of certain ships, and if you've owned a Caterpillar, especially a pirate Caterpillar, over the last 6 months to a year, you've noticed that it's gone through some iterations and some bizarre mistakes. At one point, we had the hallway of mystery, which led nowhere. We had a lot of weird visual bugs going on with the interior of the Caterpillar, but I don't know if this is still a work in progress, but honestly, CIG pencils down right now. You've got it 10 out of 10. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I love it. Matte back, the matte black finish. How did you know that's my favorite? I love it. It's awesome. It was really cool. Ordinarily I don't go that crazy over like the paint jobs on ships, but this just works so well with the ship. It may at first appear to be just like the usual visual bug, but if you look at the wing off on the right hand side of the ship, I think you'll see it pretty soon. It's still in that black finish, and that was traditionally always rendered in red, and now it is all black with the skull logo on it. It looks so good. The black really makes the skull logos pop right out. It looks fantastic. Of course, we got the new gas clouds, which look great around the refinery stations. I kind of wish that they were a little bit more prevalent throughout the system. I wish that their volume kind of expanded around, say, like an entire planetary system within the star system, or just stretched out much wider across the space that's available. I kind of wish that they were not full-scale nebula size, but at least from the perspective of the star system, I wish that they were a little bit more omnipresent, which is kind of like tendrils weaving in at different geographic locations within the star system, where we would interact with them directly. But as a first effort, it looks fantastic, and you can tell that it's not just a backdrop painting, right? That it's a presence within the area. So top marks for that. Absolutely top marks, and these are the kind of videos I wish I was making all the time. Now, before we move on, let's just linger here for a moment. Seriously, pencils down, don't touch it. It's perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now, sadly, we do have to move on from one of the sexiest ships in the game. Now, of course, tractor beams are a big deal. These are very, very, important to the game itself. And one of the big reasons is the quick and efficient retrieval of cargo expelled from a ship that's been destroyed. And here we happen to have a recently destroyed freelancer with its cargo spilled out into space. Now, this is, of course, within the context of an in-game mission. This is a criminal mission within the game. I'm sure you're very familiar with it. We've had this for well over a year. And it's, retrieve the cargo crate from, this wreck out in space. And sometimes they're on the surfaces of planets or moons. Sometimes they're just floating in space around places like ArcCorp and things like that. Now the question is the tractor beam really going to be a game changer? Does the tractor beam really make things easier for the player? And I can tell you, after trying this for probably about an hour, absolutely. There are still some bugs, some quirks with this system, but overall, as a first implementation, it's pretty amazing. Now, one of the big questions that you might ask is, how does the tractor beam work when crossing the threshold from within the gravity environment or the container, that kind of physics container of the ship, into, from space into the ship? How does that work out? And the truth of it is it actually works out almost seamlessly. I do have some slight concerns that I'll get into in a minute, where I feel there's some unintended consequences. But even up close, you can see, just moving cargo onto your ship, you can see how easily you can load cargo onto your ship. Like, this is huge, because it used to be you had to kind of float onto your ship, collapse on the floor, get yourself back up, put the crate down if you were still holding on to it. And that was, a very tedious affair after the first couple of crates. Well, now it's actually far easier to manage. Now, the question, of course, is, do you have to fly so close to the ship in order to get a crate into the ship? And the answer is, in fact, no. You use the middle mouse wheel to scroll backwards and forwards to change the length of the tractor beam so that you can actually project it into the interior of the ship. And it's not just a short range affair. The tractor beam actually has some pretty impressive reach, and you can actually project objects quite a distance into your ship, which kind of allows you to place yourself and your ship in very strategic locations so that you can pick up crates, or in a minute you'll see what else you can pick up objects and then actually project them from quite a distance into your ship without having to move all that much. So it's actually a very impressive system. As a first implementation, I really like this. And that crate did survive. It is inside my ship. It's a little hard to see, but it is definitely there. But not only crates, corpses. Now, I did encounter some bugs with this. When you project them into your ship, they still, for some reason, maintain their zero gravity behavior, so they do float around inside your ship, but they eventually they despawn. This really is going to be something that, it's going to become as ubiquitous a piece of equipment as the sidearm on your character. Most players are going to be traveling around in space with one of these things, with probably a cutting tool attachment stashed away just in case they need that for when that's fully implemented. Because, of course, you can see that in a situation like this, with a shipwreck like that, if you're thinking just some easy, quick salvage, if the guns have survived, if missiles or different systems have survived, using the cutting tool to kind of cut those things off and then tractor beam and dump them into your ship, you're going to see everyone walking around with these things on their hips. This really is a game changer right here. This is the first implementation of a very big game changer, and it's something to be excited about. Now, there's a couple of things I kind of want to highlight here, a couple of drawbacks, and one that you may not immediately think of, but it is definitely there, is that when you have a mission like this and it says pick up this object, there's a trigger within the mission. There's a mission trigger that tells the server, okay, they have picked up the object, give them the next step in the mission, right? Unfortunately, picking up things with the tractor beam doesn't kind of flip that switch. It doesn't release that trigger and say, okay, move on to the next stage. So when you're doing a mission like this, you still have to go and physically pick up the crate at least once for the mission to trigger to the next level. Another problem is that moving objects around inside the interior of your ship, and this is entirely unconfirmed, by the way, this is just a suspicion at this point that I have, may be damaging your ship. Because I also ran into another peculiar piece of behavior. One thing to notice, though, transitioning with the tractor beam into a gravity environment seems to be a lot easier than doing it in your spacesuit. You still tumble and bumble all over the place like a fool, and there's, of course, the corpses vanishing. But yeah, it may be damaging the interior of your ship and doing quite significant damage to your vessel, because I noticed some bizarre behavior. I was moving this item around inside of the ship and kind of bouncing it off of walls and seeing how I could manipulate it into different areas. Once again, be really great to have a staircase here. Oh, but you can vault it. And it's like, yeah, that's not the solution to the problem. Just vault it. Moving things around in the interior of your ship like this and kind of bouncing them off of walls and whatnot, I really do suspect is actually doing significant damage to your ship. Because after kind of moving this around and kind of trying to place it in different areas, something bizarre happened while I was flying my ship. Whilst landing my ship, doing, a very slow and easy landing, something that I've done with this ship hundreds of times, that happened. Now, the ship didn't reflect internal damage on the system or the status display prior to this, so this could have been just a 1 in 100 fluke. And I want to emphasize that this is not like a confirmed bug. This could possibly be causing something else to happen. But then again, it could just be an accident, because the internal damage only appears on the ship after that happens. So I don't know, but there may be a correlation, something to look out for in the future, and just kind of be gentle with the interior of your ship, because it may be damaging it in a way that only becomes apparent in some ways and not others. Doubtful, but it kind of piqued my interest as something I'm going to keep my eye on in the future. Well, let me put it that way. But overall, as a first attempt, as a tier 0 implementation, as they like to say, of a system, I would say that this is absolutely a success. It's fantastic. Now you're probably wondering, was I able to get my Big Benny's machine out of Gundo Kovalex? And unfortunately not, because while I was navigating the space environment, I bounced off of a wall and suffered a fatal injury and died on the spot. And also it seems like they couldn't implement it without killing a little bit of fun. The vending machines unfortunately register as too big for you to tractor beam. Unlike the large format cargo crates that you can find in Gundo Kovalex, you can manipulate those. But the vending machines, unfortunately, you basically grappling hook onto them, and they pull you instead of you pulling them, which I felt was really, really weird, that you could have like this giant meter by meter squared or whatever measurements it is, cubed cargo container that could be filled with like water or iron or lead or whatever, and you can manipulate that around so easily. But a vending machine with noodles in it, like soba noodles, no, you can't do that. Or ramen noodles, I think would probably be what they are. That seemed a little bit weird, and I think that was CIG just maybe saying like, we don't want them to have their own vending machines in the ship just in case. food is supposed to be an issue in the future, and I think maybe they kind of nipped that in the bud, and they're like, everyone's going to be stealing the vending machines and putting them in their ships so they don't have to go anywhere to get food. We don't want that, So maybe, that's a little tinfoil hattery, but I felt that it was kind of a bummer that we couldn't quite, we couldn't steal the vending machines. And yeah, we can't steal that either. It's just there for show. But overall, tractor beams, fantastic. And 3.12 being out now, when I first started the client, it was really slow and laborious to get things to load. It was very, it was very cumbersome, and it looked pretty bad in the beginning. Usually when I play things on the PTU, I'm like, oh, this PTU client works really great right out of the box, and then it hits the live servers and it's kind of not that great. When I first got my hands on 3.12 and started playing it, it was brutal. But it seems that once things kind of loaded up and kind of figured themselves out, then the game ran just as it ran in 3.11, if not just a touch smoother, which is a welcome change. But now that we've got this tool, I had to, of course, return to Area 18 because that's one of the places that, torpedoes are sold. Let's see what we can do with those. But that really is another video. Apart from that, nothing else really interesting came with this patch in terms of ship updates. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.